empowering the IT service team to do more at each step webinar hosted by Summit Software. My name is Ken Lee. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Summit. We're going to be talking about a webinar that's going to help customers to accelerate resolution, reduce callbacks, and lower costs. For those of you who are not familiar with Summit Software, we're a cloud-based provider of IT service management, asset management, and availability management applications. Our applications are all ITIL certified with Pink Verify 12. And we're also, for those who are wondering in terms of how long we've been around, we were started last year, April of 2011. And we were named the most promising new vendor by Enterprise Management Associates recently. So we're getting good traction, and I'd like to introduce you to Wei Wang, who's our presenter today. He's the President and CEO of Summit Software. Before I hand it over to him, I'd like to remind you of our upcoming webinars. We have one coming up next week, September 27th, Financial and Operational Benefits of Implementing IT Best Practices, and then October 18th, Optimizing Service Management with Unified ITSM. Okay, without much further ado, let me hand it off to Wei.
Thank you, Ken. Welcome to our webinar, and thank you for your time. Over the last 30 plus years, I had the good fortune and privilege of leading the BA engineering teams, as well as running the Unicenter brand at Computer Associates. I've also learned a lot of basic lessons around technical support, doing one of my stints as head of worldwide support, technical support. And basically, what I want to talk about today is a lot of those lessons learned and some of the solutions that I feel are really that can really help drive efficiency, speed, performance. So the agenda today is talk a little bit about the business challenges of IT support, what a day in service support kind of looks like, I'm sure as all of you know. And then we'll go through some scenarios around how to, or the steps that's facing the agents day to day. And then kind of boil that down to the key factors of consistent performance, speedy performance, and how we at Summit Software provide a feature called Service Assist that can help support that. So with that, let me go into the business challenges. So today, the infrastructure is very complex, and it's only getting more so. Virtualization is a great benefit for driving efficiency in the infrastructure as far as utilization, as far as being on demand, so to speak, providing the right services for the right capacity and the right capacity. And if you look at cloud, cloud basically offers a lot of alternatives to having software installed on-site as opposed to having a much more simpler to implement model out in the cloud and having someone or having a third party manage the application. But the two together creates a lot of complexity for service support. Trying to identify where the problem is, trying to find what's connected to what, and then of course there's the device explosion. Everybody has an iPad, an Android phone, an Android tablet, multiple laptops, a desktop, and when you add that to the mix, there's a lot of complexity in the infrastructure that basically face our agents every day, that face our support agents every day. And to drive low cost per instance to resolve, automation is key. And basically the other key point that I want to point out is not only automation, but how to enable the service workload towards the help desk agent, more of that work being done at the first contact, as opposed to the standard process of escalating through a chain of people, maybe one, maybe multiple, in order to resolve an incident. And don't forget, the standard metrics still apply, mean time to resolution, and that's affected by inconsistent staff expertise and inconsistent performance. what you really want to do is have automation handle as much of the performance and leverage as much of the performance consistency as possible. And basically, how do you capture the knowledge and expertise that is relatively common for the common problems and get them to the place where it has the most effect, which is the first-tier agent or the help desk agent. The other metric that's always lower than desired, which again needs to be focused on, is end-user satisfaction. In my stint as head of customer support, one of the things that I always strive towards is how do you do the things that make the experience better for the end user. And don't forget, there's also the organization SLA performance that's always being measured, that's always part of the kind of top 3 things that need to be there in order to make sure that the organization is performing properly. So with the complexity and having these key metrics that need to be measured, that's some of the key challenges right up front, some of the basic challenges right up front. So let's look at a day in a service support agent's life. There's incoming call volumes. There's always new incidents coming in every day, every hour, every minute. You got to get back to people. So you got callbacks, you got instant updates to end users, and basically you have to do work, to do the research that's in the work queue. And ultimately, to drive that research, a lot of communication happens to other team members, and so you're juggling between current fires, high priority fires, you got promise response times and requests for updates that's happening, and going back to the SLAs, making sure that you're fitting inside the SLA window that's there. And the challenge is that the tasks that you need to perform are in the system, but the things that you need in order to move those tasks forward and efficiently resolve them, the diagnostic know-how and the ability for each agent to kind of be efficient in the workflow seamlessly, that's really in the system. You're jumping into other tools, you're jumping into areas that you're not expert in order to find the right commands and to find the right output to kind of figure out what's going on, and even to extent of what changed, what's different. And what you want to do is leave the end users feeling that support knows what it's doing and there's minimum disruption to them. And I would say to you that many tools today, while it may help make the agent more efficient, at the same time, it has a negative effect of leaving the end user feeling like the day has been disrupted and interrupted. So what are some of the typical first steps when an incident's open? Triage. A typical scenario is transferring into a work group for particular keywords and problems so that initial triage is done. One example I would give is an existing customer of ours today. They work with agents that does not have access because they're contractors and so forth. They don't have access to the network. So they do a lot of work with emails in this example. They specify some keywords on the subject line, and basically the back-end system will parse the keywords and separate them and put them in the right work queues. So that's pretty much the first step that happens everywhere. But the next step, which is around what's the next thing to do, providing a checklist, having an ability to predefine basic resolution path, not everybody does that. And I think that's a really key step to at least connect the dots, so to speak, so that everybody has a common and consistent path to resolution. But checklist never has enough details. You may walk through the steps, but the how of actually executing those steps are really detailed enough in the checklist so that they can do what they need to do. And the complexity of infrastructure means, again, you're logging on to different systems, you're finding that you're going into different tools and executing different commands, looking at different screens to try to figure out where is the information that you need to work on this incident. And you also, in a checklist scenario, you're relying on staff to follow through. You're relying on the fact that they have memorized or written down paths and commands, navigation, and really from a checklist perspective, the more detailed steps could be missing, and there's a possibility of missing them. And on a desktop basis, there is sometimes there's a need to do a remote session, and in some organizations, almost every time when there's a desktop problem. And that's very intrusive to users. And even if you don't do a remote session, there is a scenario where, as an end user, I get called when I report a desktop problem. Oh, let's talk through it. Let me walk you through some things that I like you to do on your machine, and tell me what the information is. That is very disruptive to end users' day. So what's the challenge? The challenge is, how can the knowledge and capability be given to the first agent that's contacted so that they can efficiently capture the data for diagnosis and resolve the incident in a consistent, secure way, in a very methodical way. So let's say that's the first step, or first common step. Kind of the next step is, what's changed or different? Desktop, server, application. The typical question is, what changed? It was working, and now it's not. What changed? And to kind of figure that out, some of the challenge here is to find a reference point of a past point in time where things are working. What is the reference point that you're kind of comparing current state to past state? How do you see that data in one place? Like in the previous slide, many of the data that you need, much of the data that you need, is in various different tools. Seeing it all together creates an immediate beneficial effect in that you can do a side-by-side comparison or a near side-by-side comparison, and quickly isolate the difference, eliminate the possibilities of what went wrong, and therefore speed up the diagnostic process. If you get to there, then you basically got to the point where you're going to either escalate it to resolve the incident by passing off to a system administrator, a network administrator, a desktop agent. But if you have to do that, basically the reason you're doing it is because expertise, training, and skill sets to operate the tools. It's also about privilege and authorization. A lot of times, the other tools have such a security setup where you cannot open them up for general use because of security implications or constraints around who's allowed to do what. And basically, in this scenario, when you're doing escalation, you're creating more work for the more expensive and the higher skilled staff, and thereby raising your cost of resolution. And let's not forget documentation. It's really important for future reference and future look back, and that's often neglected. A lot of times when you look at a prior incident, the details of what got changed, the details of what was the problem beyond a one or two liner is not there. And really what you want the desired state to be is a lot less mechanics for everybody to learn and remember. How do you capture that? How do you encode that? And basically allow the agents to, the first contact agent, to supply value in an additive way by shifting the expertise to the right. A webinar that we hosted with Forrester, with Evelyn, had talked about that as a key effectiveness measure. And I would encourage everyone to go to look at that webinar. We have it on our URL, on our website. And basically, you want to lower escalation to the next tier of agents or administrators. And you want to be able to escalate with the right information incident record. And, of course, automated documentation of the actions. And that all sounds great. But how do you do that? So before we get there, let me talk a little bit about common factors. And so you look at steps 1, 2, and 3, which is relatively common in any problem resolution. Basically deciding what is relevant and what isn't is a very big filter right up front. And finding out what's connected to what. How do you know the infrastructure connectivity. Basically, what app server is relying on what web server, and only some people know that. And without that knowledge, you're basically transferring the issue because you don't know the intrinsic connections that's been put together in the infrastructure. Figuring out where to start into the reported incident is also a common factor. Automation, and that's key. The automation to get the information out of the systems that's out there without doing a lot of navigation, without doing a lot of mechanics. Because all of that costs you time, and all of that costs money. And of course, recording the information, research, and retrieving what was normal before. A very hard thing to do, to construct in your head what was the state of affairs at some point when things were normal. Going to the right places, going through the mechanics, recording the proof that's been fixed, and all of this, of course, drive reduction of IT support costs, reduction of mean time to resolution, and improved customer satisfaction. These are the common factors that's key in those three first steps. And with that, what I like to do is introduce something called service process automation. We have a feature in SUMIS called Service Assist, and that feature is one of the key differentiators that we want to put forward before you to isolate and to make more effective the automation of the service process around the first contact agent. And with that, Casey, if you could.
Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Casey Gainey. I am a senior field engineer here at SUMIS, and today I'm going to walk you through a couple of incident scenarios explaining how they're typically done and how we can enhance them with Service Assist. So let's get started. So in the scenario we're seeing here, an incident detail screen where a user has raised an incident with the help desk, or what some people refer to as Tier 1 support. As seen here on the left, the user is complaining of slow access to their core business application. So if the incident cannot be easily resolved by the help desk level support, as is typically the case with most networked core business applications, then as shown on the right, the incident is transferred to the appropriate team member for troubleshooting. Now in SUMIS, we have an added feature called checklist. And what you're seeing highlighted here is the SUMIS implementation of checklists. Now, checklists are a great feature for enabling help desk tier support to standardize their troubleshooting tasks, as well as capture helpful information for sysadmin or your Tier 2 level support. However, to effectively gather this type of information, you're typically required to leave the incident and launch a variety of tools. Be that remote monitoring tools, some RDP session, or maybe an SSH into a Linux server. In this case, we're looking for a variety of information surrounding the core application stack. And this was predetermined as a necessary flow of troubleshooting. So as Wei was mentioning earlier, it requires an elevated permissions and knowledge to compile this information. Now, this information gathering process is a key area where help desk agents unnecessarily spend a great deal of time, resulting in increased time to resolution and the necessity for callbacks. Also, as you can see, there's a limited amount of information that can be stored in this manner. Now let's say the information is already gathered and I'm the assigned sysadmin. I receive the incident, I look at the symptom, I look at the description and the checklist, and I start to go through a normal flow of trying to resolve this incident. And as typically is the case, tangible details are quite limited. So what's my next step? It's most likely going to be the same process of further information gathering, which relies on memorized paths, on recorded knowledge, and adds more time to resolution. Also, the SLA clock will have been started, so time spent in this phase is moving you closer to missing your SLA targets. So how do we make this process better? Let's take a look at Service Assist. Service Assist allows you to capture real-time information from various application servers, network devices, workstations within your organization, and store them and store this point-of-time information within the incident. This can all be done from the help desk tier support without the complexity, as we mentioned earlier, of granting elevated access and without higher level of expertise. So let's look at the same incident scenario. Someone calls with core application issues. We put the same information in the incident, except instead of just shifting this inefficient process of information gathering to, significantly more expensive sysadmin employees, we now go to the Service Assist tab, as you see here, select the relevant CI, and run a diagnostic package called Get Core Application Details. Now, this package was created by a sysadmin tier employee and contains specific commands to gather effective troubleshooting information for the category core application is slow. This package is reusable for every incident and by every help desk agent, which saves time and documents the previously unrecorded memorized path. It's important to note here that the help desk tier employee need not be given elevated rights to run these commands. They also need not have the expertise to understand the information gathered in this package. The only thing they really need to know is that when someone calls for core application is slow class of incident, they go over to the Service Assist tab and select Get Core Application Details package. Shown here in this example is a scrollable output details list that contains ASP.NET state service, server process information, server ping test, server startup info, server storage info. All of this point-in-time information is captured and stored within the incident for faster, more accurate troubleshooting. This leads to faster mean time to resolution and higher percentage of team or organizational SLA targets being met, as well as more thoroughly documented incidents. Reference incidents can also be created to baseline the normal state of the stack, thereby answering the question, what has changed? So let's look at another scenario. This time a user calls with workstation issues. And in this particular case, the user cannot start their Office application. A look at our checklist here shows that for the Office Pro category of incidents, we want to check disk space and directory permissions on the workstation. This has been predetermined by the desktop expert in the group as a prescriptive subset of information necessary to troubleshoot this particular class of incident. Now, without Service Assist ability to automate tasks, this would likely require a remote session with the user to retrieve this sort of information. Or even worse, walking the user through what would seem to be a long list of troublesome and time-consuming tasks. We would have to complete a separate step to record this information back into the application so a dispatched desktop technician would be able to be properly informed to resolve this incident. All of this costs manpower, disrupts the user, and impacts user satisfaction. Again, we're seeing how automation capabilities built into Service Assist, with these capabilities, we can gather this information with a couple of clicks and no interruption to the user. This information is stored in the incident so the desktop agent will have access to it for effective and timely troubleshooting. As you can see here, we give you the ability to write packages to a variety of platforms. This is not only for information gathering, this can be prescriptive as well. For example, in this current document or desktop scenario where we're talking about now, you can find it useful to create packages to, say, delete temporary files, maybe assign permissions, or remotely execute an installation script. What you see in this example is that all Service Assist packages that are run are also stored in the incident history. This is an incident journal containing all of the actions run against this incident and demonstrates the clear advantage of not only being able to remotely, quickly execute predetermined reusable diagnostic packages, but also have their results stored in an incident. Now, this will not entirely replace the need for remote sessions, nor will it eliminate the need for effective personnel on the help desk. It will, however, for a large number of cases, reduce the time required to gather effective and pertinent information needed for incident resolution. This, in turn, will lower your per-incident cost, lower your mean time to resolution, positively impact your end-user satisfaction, and increase your SLA performance. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Wei.
So what you see before you is a demonstration of Service Assist feature that basically the concept is service process automation. And I would encourage everyone to visit our website, www.summitsoftware.com. Under resource demo, there'll be a full video tour of the feature put up there in the near future. So what's the effects of service process automation of a feature like Service Assist? Number one, it'll automate diagnostics. It level sets key expertise for sharing among the team members. You capture key complex dynamic systems interactions into these diagnostic packages, and of course being able to automate fixing common problems, all of which drives efficiency. And have a stake in the ground around the diagnostic process, consistency, performance, and the speed of resolution. So therefore improving the response rates, the SLAs, and not disturbing the user unless you absolutely have to. With that, I'd like to point you again that we'll be having additional webinars, financial and operation benefits of implementing IT best practices on September 27th. Everyone's welcome. And we open up for more questions. So a question just came in around, is there a way to track and log the diagnostic scripts, when it was utilized, and by whom? So as Casey indicated or shown, every invocation, all the results of these scripts and these diagnostics are placed inside the incident record. And within the incident record, all of the output can be browsed and seen. And again, pointing to the ability to create reference incidents when things are normal, that history creates the ability to quickly identify what's abnormal that's happening right this moment. Okay, we have a second question, which is, how do I report on the ROI for implementing this kind of process? So basically, if you are able to track and recapture the execution of these scripts in the incident record, so if you can numerize or quantify how the steps would have been in the process where the different various agents are involved, every invocation of these diagnostic packages would give a delta as far as what the manpower costs and how many people were involved in gathering this information. And I think that's the basis for an ROI model. Okay, we have no more questions, so I think time is up. Ken?
Yes, so thanks everyone. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email at the address that we have provided, info@summitsoftware.com. You can view this webinar online as a recording from our webinar page on our homepage, which is www.summitsoftware.com. And then once again, we'll also be posting the demo that Casey showed you of our service process automation capability called Service Assist. Again, I want to thank you for joining our webinar today, and I look forward to hearing back from you in terms of questions or any other areas that you may be interested in. Thanks very much, and have a nice day.